بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is session 5 of our study on Nahw. Last session we started some rules related to Nakir and Ma'rifa nouns. Just as a quick recap of what we've done so far. After discussing the definition of Nahwa, the subject matter of Nahwa, and the objective of studying Nahwa, we went into the discussion of singulars and compounds. We have singular words and then we also have compounds. We said that singular words have three categories: ism, fi'l, harf, nouns, verbs, and particles. Compounds are a compilation of words, at least two. And we said that we're going to leave this discussion for later. I'm going to focus only on this so far. Then we scoped in to one of the types of words, which is an ism, a noun, and we discussed that an ism can be categorized into two. We said nakira or ma'rifa, and then we discussed the types of nakira nouns and the types of ma'rifa nouns. Then we went on to some rules related to nakira and ma'rifa nouns. We've discussed four of these rules. We have five left, so let's finish this in this session. So from rule 5, we start. The hamza on the noun with alif lam is called hamzatul wasl. It is dropped when a word joins to the noun with alif lam. So over here, we have some nouns. Al-baytu, al-baytu. What he's trying to say is that this hamza in the beginning of this noun al-baytu is hamzatul wasl. The meaning of hamzatul wasl is when you're joining a word to a word that has its opening letter as hamzatul wasl, when that hamzatul wasl is not pronounced. So it's equivalent to what we would call in the English language a silent letter. Because of this, the consequence is that you don't pronounce it. So this example over here, you have babu entering into this noun al-bayt. So when you enter this noun babu into al-bayt, then you will not pronounce it as babu al-bayti. You do not pronounce it as babu al-bayti, meaning you don't pronounce the hamza because the hamza is dropped in when you actually connect it with a word before. So instead of saying Babu al Bayti and pronouncing the Hamza, you say Babul Bayti. Babul Bayti. The first letter that will be pronounced when it comes to the second word is the Lam Sakin. The Hamza is still there, but in terms of pronunciation, it's not there. Meaning it's still there in terms of writing, but in terms of pronunciation, it's not actually used. So you don't say Babu al Bayti, you say Babul Bayti, Babul Bayti. Another example would be this noun ar-rajulu, ar-rajulu. So if you look at this example also, the opening letter is Hamza, and this Hamza is also an Hamzatul Wasl. It's a Hamzatul Wasl. Hence why the rule of Hamzatul Wasl will also apply over here. That if you were to add in a word before it and connect it to that word that has Hamzatul Wasl as the opening letter, you do not pronounce that Hamzatul Wasl. So you don't say Kitabu al-Rajuli, you don't say Kitabu al-Rajuli, you say Kitabu al-Rajuli. Why? Because this Hamza is not to be pronounced. So the first thing that's going to be pronounced is what comes after the Hamza. In this example, what's going to be pronounced is going to be this ra over here with the tashdid. So it won't be Kitabu al-Rajuli, it will be Kitabu al-Rajuli. Kitabu al-Rajuli. Another example is al-Qalam. Al-Qalam. The opening letter of this noun, al-Qalam, is also Hamzatul Wasl. Hence why when you join a word to this word that has its opening letter as Hamzatul Wasl, you do not pronounce the Hamzatul Wasl upon joining. So instead of saying Hibru al-Qalami, Hibru al-Qalami, you say Hibrul Qalami. You do not pronounce the Hamza. The first thing that is to be pronounced when it comes to this second word is the letter after the Hamza, which is the Lam Sakin. Hence why it will be Hibrul Qalami, Hibrul Qalami. Now that we've explained the rule, when we go back to what is mentioned here, it will make more sense. The Hamza on the noun with Alif Lam is called Hamzatul Wasl. It is dropped when a word joins to the noun with Alif Lam. Okay. Rule number 6. When there is a noun with the definite article after a noun with tanween, the noon of the tanween is made to have a kasra whilst joining with the lam of the noun after. Let's write these examples out. You have Zaydun. You have Zaydun. Zaydun. This noun Zaydun has a tanween. This is an ismul alim, as we've touched upon before. He has a tanween. This noun Zaydun is actually like this. Zaydun. This tanween is actually this nun sakin. Tanween is a harf. We've mentioned this. Like when you're little and you're studying tajweed, you will say dal nun damma dun, right? So this is actually this. Now when you're having a noun that has a tanween and you're trying to join it up with the noun that has alif lam, so the word after it will have alif lam. So the example we've given here is al-alimu, al-alimu. Al-alimu. So when you're joining Zaydun with al-alimu, remember we mentioned in last rule that when there's a hamzatul wasl and there's a word that's joining to that word that has its opening letter as hamzatul wasl is dropped. It's not pronounced. Hence why this is not going to be pronounced. That's why if you notice over here, when we actually expressed this rule, we said the kasra was joining with the lam, right? Was joining with the lam, not the alif lam, because the hamza over here is dropped because it's hamzatul wasl. So the first thing that we have after the hamza is the lam. Now Zaydun is going to join with al-alimu. It's not going to join with the hamza in terms of pronunciation, but in terms of pronunciation, you see that the last letter of this first word, Zaydun, is a nun. It's a nun sakin. And the first letter of this second word, in terms of pronunciation, is a lam sakin. So we have two sakins that are meeting. This is what's called iltiqa sakinain. Iltiqa. This might take a while. Iltiqa sakinain. Supposed to have 120 here. Sorry about that. Iltiqa sakinain. Iltiqa sakinain means the meeting of two sakins. And this is exactly what we have here. The last letter of this first word is a nun sakin, and the first letter of the second word in terms of pronunciation is also a sakin, which is a lam sakin. So we have a nun sakin meeting with a lam sakin. So we have iltiqa sakinain. When we have iltiqa sakinain, the rule of iltiqa sakinain is as-sakinu idha hurrika bil kasr. As-sakinu idha hurrika bil kasr. When a sakin is made into a haraka, so this is what we do. we make the first sakin into a haraka. But what haraka do we choose? Because a haraka can be a dhamma, fatha, or kasra. So which one do we give precedence to? What is this sakin going to be changed to? Because it can change to a dhamma, fatha, or kasra. This principle tells us what this sakin is going to be changed to, which haraka. As-sakinu idha hurrika bil kasr. When a sakin is changed into a haraka, the haraka that is changed to is a kasra. So we know that this sakin is going to change to a kasra. So this sakin is going to be dropped, and what's going to replace it is this kasra. Right? The kasra is going to replace the sakin. Hence why you recite it like this. Zaydunil alimu, because it doesn't have a sakin now. It has a kasra. Zaydunil alimu. This is what this rule is trying to say. Let's go back to this rule now. Now, when there is a noun with the definite article after a noun with tanween, the noon of the tanween is made to have a kasra whilst joining with the lam. Notice it says lam. The reason why it says lam and not alif lam is because remember the hamza is hamza to wasl, hence why that's not pronounced, which is why it says lam, not alif lam, of the noun after. So the example we gave is exactly the same over here. Zaydun, Zaydun has a noon sakin, right? That's what's mentioned over here, and it's joining with al-alimu. So the first word is Zaydun, second word that is joining to is al-alimu, and the first letter in terms of pronunciation of this second word, which is al-alimu, is the lam sakin. So we have the meeting of two sakins, which is called iltiqa'us sakinain, the meeting of two sakins. When there's a meeting of two sakins, we drop the first sakin and we change it into a kasra. Why? Because of the qaida, the principle, as-sakinu idha hurrika bil kasr. And because we drop the sakin and change it into a kasra, meaning the sakin of the first word, then it will be pronounced as so. Zaydunil alimu, Zaydunil alimu. The noon sakin will now have a kasra, and that's how it will be pronounced. That's rule number 6 done. Rule number 7 is just application of rule number 5. It's just an example or a set of examples of rule number 5. And you see this. The hamza of ismun, ibnatun, ibnun is hamzatul wasl. It will not be pronounced when something is joined before it. So example ibnun, this hamza in ibnun is hamzatul wasl. So when you join a word to it, you do not pronounce this. Example over here, you don't say huwa ibnun, you say huwa banun, because this hamza is hamzatul wasl and there's a word that's joining to this word that has its opening letter as hamzatul wasl. Hence why the ruling of hamzatul wasl will be applied, and the ruling of hamzatul wasl is that the hamza is not pronounced. So you don't say huwa ibnun, you say huwa banun, huwa banun. Same over here. Ibnatun. The opening letter over here is a hamza, and the hamza is hamzatul wasl. Hence why when here, for example, is joined to ibnatun, you do not pronounce the hamza. So you don't say hiya ibnatun, you don't say hiya ibnatun, you say hiya banatun, hiya banatun. You do not pronounce the hamza. Does that make sense? Same over here, you have ismun. The first letter of this word ismun is hamzatul wasl. Hence why when you join a word to this word that has its opening letter, the first letter is hamzatul wasl, you do not pronounce this hamza. So you don't say hadha ismun, you don't say hadha ismun, you say hadhasmun, hadhasmun. So this seventh rule is really just application of the fifth rule. It's just giving some examples of the fifth rule. This eighth and ninth rule is known if you know how to recite Quran. It's not really that important, but we'll go through it nonetheless. Eighth rule. When alif lam is prefixed to a word having one of the letters of al-huruf al-shamsiyya, the lam of the alif lam is assimilated into the huruf al-shamsiyya instead of reading the lam. the Hurufun Shamsiyya is pronounced. No sakin will be written on the lam, but tashdid will be written on the Hurufun Shamsiyya. It makes it seem as though it's way too complicated, right? It's not actually that complicated. So what we have over here, we have a set of letters, and these letters are called al-huruf al-shamsiyya, the letters of Shamsiyya, the sun letters. This is what we refer to as the sun letters. The sun letters are ta, tha, dal, zal, ra, za, sin, shin, swad, dwa, ta, za, lam, nun. Example, Shamsun. Shamsun. If you look at the first letter of Shamsun, it's a sheen, and sheen is from the letters of Shamsiyya. So we have Shamsun. What's going to happen is when you add alif lam to it, you're going to add a tashdid to the sun letter, which is a sheen. So there won't be any sakin on the lam. Rather, there's going to be a tashdid on the sheen. So the way you pronounce it is like this: ash-shamsu, ash-shamsu. Another example is rajulun. The first letter of rajulun is a ra, and ra is from the sun letters. Hence, why the rule will apply that when you add alif lam to this word rajulun, this noun rajulun, it will be with a tashdid on the sun letter. Ar-rajulu, this is how it's pronounced. Ar-rajulu. This is the rule regarding the sun letters, the letters that are shamsiyya. Then we have the ninth rule. Other than these letters, meaning these letters mentioned over here, the rest are called al-huruf al-qamariyya, the moon letters. When joined with alif lam, the lam will have a sakin. So unlike al-huruf al-shamsiyya, the moon letters will have lam with a sakin. Will have lam with a sakin. And the moon letters are alif, ba, jim, ha, kha, ain, ghain, fa, qaf, kaf, mim, ha, waw, ya. Example, qamarun. Qamarun, the first letter of this word Qamarun is qaf, and qaf is from the moon letters. Hence why when you add alif lam to this noun Qamarun, you will read a sakin on the lam. Al-qamaru, al-qamaru. Right. Another example is Ainun, Ainun. If you look at this noun over here, the first letter is Ain, and Ain is from the moon letters. Hence why the rule of the moon letters will apply. That when you add alif lam, there will be a sakin on the lam. So you pronounce it as al-ainu, al-ainu. As a side note, the reason why these are called al-huruf al-shamsiyya is because Shamsun is an example of this, right, of this rule. And the reason why these are called al-huruf al-qamariyya is because Qamarun is an example of this rule. Okay. Now, I need you guys to learn vocabs. We have about 30 nouns over here. I need you to learn about 15. So we'll split it up into two parts. So until salatun, I need you to memorize these vocabs. Now, I won't test these vocabs, but I'll know if you actually learned the vocabs or not, because the exercise needs you to know the vocab list to actually answer these questions, and this will be tested. Okay, this will be tested. So remember, until salatun, prayer. If you learn 3 a day, you have it done in time. So you learn 3 a day, in 5 days you'll be done.